Well, existing home sales climbing for the second consecutive month, fueling hopes that the market has stabilized and that a recovery has begun.
But it's often the builders themselves that can give you the best pulse of the housing market. And today, part of our War on Business coverage, Jeff Flock on the ground at a construction site in St. Charles, Illinois. So how are the foreclosures, Jeff, affecting builders?
Well, that's something, Connell, that is not reflected, this foreclosure moratorium not reflected in the numbers today, so that's something to worry about. I want to talk to John Hall of John Hall Builders as we watch the finishing touches being put on a kitchen here in St. Charles. John Hall, foreclosures, we haven't seen the impact of that in these numbers. What's going to be the impact?
I think the impact's going to be pretty rough on us. I mean, you've got a lot of people that have now installed process, and now we find out that the big banks have really kind of screwed people. You've got banks like Chase and JP Morgan that have really kind of...
You're working with smaller banks here because you have better luck with smaller banks.
Smaller banks have been fantastic. We work with a bank called the National Bank here in our area, and they've been giving construction loans and finance to all of our clients.
And the big banks won't give you construction loans and that sort of thing. I want to show you this house. It's great to see a house that's actually under construction, guys, and something where something's happening. This was a scene that we didn't see a whole lot of. And hey, John, come on over with me if you would, because I just want to get your perspective, too, on some of these guys. You fought through government regulation. You fought through this downturn.
It's amazing the struggle that we've all gone through. I mean, we're fortunate enough that we have 90% of the subs with us before the recession started, still with us today. But I've got friends that were builders and competitors that are now janitors in high schools and lost everything. And everyone was so close that it's terrible.
Last word before we get away. What would you say to the government right now? What do you need from the folks in Washington? What would be most helpful?
The two things that would be most helpful would be the home buyer tax credit extended and lifted to $729,000, and then also to work out a nice equilibrium for the appraisal process to take foreclosures and regular homes into account.
Because they feel, Connell, that right now the appraisal process, is kind of crazy. When you go to buy a house, the appraisal on it could be way out of line. That's why some of the financing gets held up. Interesting perspective on the ground, up close and personal, with a real home builder.
Very, very interesting perspective. You hear that from a lot of people. Okay, Jeff, thank you. Jeff Flock, live there from Illinois.
Well, let's get